Dan here, Max SPL Videos, and today we're going to talk about the Samson MixPad series of mixers. Okay, so we've got here the Samson MixPad. Now, I'm going to accidentally call them Samsung at some point because that's just how my brain works. But what is it? Well, these are a series of USB mixers. They used to have some that didn't have USB and didn't have effects, I'm fairly certain, that have, at least at the time of recording this, been discontinued to my knowledge. I could be wrong. Although, full disclosure, I do sell these, so bias. Yeah, I am a Samson dealer, and I'm happy to be, because I quite like these. I use one personally. Quite a few of the videos that I did in the old space were recorded on one of these. Simply put, they sound good and it was easy. Now, I still use one of these for live events. I'm going to be using one of these for my DJing events, as well as any small singer-songwriter stuff that bringing my big mixer that's just slightly out of frame here out with me may not be the best decision. So let's go over the two options. So this is the 12. They do make a 14. Now, I kind of wish I just went for the 14. But the 12 is enough for the vast majority of people. If you're new to mixers, which this is sort of marketed towards newer users, right? If you're after one of these, it may be your first mixer, or it might be a second mixer because, like myself, you have a big mixer that you need a smaller one for smaller events. So I'm going to assume and speak as if this is the first mixer you've ever bought. So if you've bought more than that, you can skip ahead a little bit if you want. But we've got a 12-channel mixer board, but it only has 4 mic inputs. That's really common. Generally speaking, very few mixers have the same amount of mic inputs as they have inputs total. So if you're looking at this and you see 12 and you're just, but how do I plug 12 microphones into that? You can't. Sorry. But having the versatility of 12 inputs total with 4 mic preamps in this form factor is actually really nice. For DJing events, I tend to have 4 wireless microphones out of my Phoenix Pro mic setup, and I just wire those 4 across there. The bigger version, the 14, has 2 extra mic channels, and I kind of wish I went for that version because it also has 2 extra compressors, which is the next thing I kind of want to get at here, is we've got compressors on 2 of the microphone channels. I quite like that. They are single knob compressors. If you haven't used a compressor before, essentially what they do is they pull the peaks of the volume down so you can bring, generally speaking, the total volume up. Not always the use case, but for most of the time with a mixer like this, that's what I'm using them for. Is I've got, say a mic getting passed back and forth for speeches and things like that. I have a fairly dynamic singer that is sometimes overpowering, and I don't want to be sitting there riding the fader the whole time. Add a bit of compression. Single knob ones like this do not have the same amount of control as some of the fancier ones out there, but that's the joy, though, of having a single knob. It's just form factor, not having to bring a rack with you, that kind of stuff. My bigger mixer, I've got a Yamaha that has built-in compressors, and I don't know if I could ever go back. They're just very handy to have. I do wish there was 4 of them on here, but again, the bigger brother has 4. I probably should have just gone that route. And yeah, then we have our other inputs and stuff here that don't have side compressors. For my setup, I tend to run either RCAs for my DJ board into there, or I can run it into any of these 1/4-inch channels. Yeah, going down here again, so we do have 4 faders for our mic channels. We end up with just a level knob for all of the rest, and they are stereo channels, so you don't have individual volume control for every input, but generally, again, that's not the most common on especially this form factor, right? These things are pretty small. We do have effects, and the effects sound pretty good. Again, small coffee shop gigs where I mostly just need my guitar and a vocal mic plugged in. Perfect. That is why I got these, because I was doing some open mic nights and stuff. Sometimes I needed an extra mic input. Most of the time, all I needed was one mic, my guitar, a bit of reverb. So having one mic, one guitar, a bit of reverb and compression, and have the option of adding a couple more microphones if, hey, we brought our trio. Cool. We can handle that. We can make it work. So like I said, the main difference you're going to see on this board versus the 14 is those 2 extra microphone channels. And that to me is worth the upgrade alone if you ever are going to need those. I don't particularly. That's why I just wish this one would have had 4 compressors, and then this would have been perfect for me. Shy of one thing that the other one has that you also want to keep in mind. This smaller guy here doesn't have a monitor out. What that means on this particular board, if I want to monitor myself, if I want to be able to hear myself, I have an option of going Mix 2, and Mix 2 has its own volume knob. That works, right? So I set up my mix, and then I can have individual volume for what they hear and what I hear, but I can't go and say, oh, I want to hear a little bit more guitar in my monitor. I don't have that option. It's all or nothing. Whatever the mix is. It is nice that they have that independent volume control for Mix 1 and Mix 2 on the separate outputs, because then you can set to the different volumes. But it would be nice to have the monitor out, which they do have on this bigger brother. What that does is it gives me a second knob just right around the effects knob here that controls the volume that is going to the monitor speaker. I would recommend that if this is your only board, 100%, because that just adds quite a bit of versatility. If you're doing sound for other people, that can be very handy. But for me, this was enough. So the other thing I was using this board for was my YouTube videos. Now the way I was doing that is through the USB out. For home recording, this can be very useful in certain use cases. If you're not familiar with the difference between a standalone mixer that happens to have USB versus an audio interface, here you go. This has a 2-channel out, 2-channel in USB. So whatever is going on your stereo, that is what is going into the computer. On an interface, you can record each channel separately. So if you have, say, a 12-channel recording interface, right? This has 12 inputs, only sends out 2 outputs to your computer, stereo. If you have a 12-channel recording interface, you can record each of those separately and then edit them after. Now, for bands and music work in general, that is a better option. So why use this for recording over an interface? Ease of use for certain situations. I particularly like this for, say, podcasting, right? You're doing a podcast, you can set your mics. What you hear is what you get. It comes out the other end. Awesome. You can do a split where I can pan one left and one right, send it out to record. I can adjust the pan later in the software and stuff. If you want to record both channels separately and get 2-channel audio that way, that can work. But at that point, I would probably recommend just getting an interface. But yeah, doing podcasts, live off the floor recording stuff for demo work, right? We've got a song idea. We want to record our jam. We want a mixer for our jam space that doesn't take up a lot of room, has built-in compressors, has reverb, that kind of stuff. Perfect for that. If you're doing, say, small gigs as well, where, say, you've got 4 vocalists, you've got a piano player and then an electric drum kit, and you're DIing your bass and your guitar like you do a line out from those, perfect as well. So this can work for a lot of gig situations, and that's what I would mostly point people towards with this, as opposed to for recording situations. For recording, I think it is lacking compared to an audio interface. However, if you're mostly doing, like I said, podcast type stuff, streaming, right? You're doing Facebook Lives or Twitch streams of like DJ sets, that kind of stuff. The USB on this works perfect for that. Scratch tracks, demo work, all that kind of stuff. I just wouldn't use it for recording a band because, again, you're only getting that stereo out. That is, again, the main difference. But I'm just kind of babbling at this point. I didn't go over every last in and out on this because you probably don't need that. Oh yeah, it's got a spot to put a mount on it so you can put this on a stand. I might get that at some point because sometimes you show up and there's just no table. So being able to put this on like a tripod stand or something would actually be very beneficial. I completely forgot that they have that spot back there. I'm gonna look into that. You learn something new every day. But anyway, again, I'm Dan. This is Max SPL Videos. If you like this video, do that whole like and subscribe thing because the channel's growing, but can always grow more. More videos to come. Gonna be doing some guitar stuff, more DJing stuff too, PA stuff. If you have any questions about this mixer, feel free to throw them in the comments below. I, at least at the time of recording, do my best to answer most questions that come up. And yeah, like I said, overall, I'm biased because I sell these. I'm a Samson dealer, but I do like this mixer. I intended to pick one up actually before I was a dealer for them. And then I saw that I was and was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna get mine through there. So I brought in two, one for me, one for selling. And yeah, I've got no regrets other than I personally probably would have gone for the bigger one had I paid more attention to the monitor out situation. But again, for the DJing events and stuff that I'm gonna mostly be using this for the singer-songwriter stuff, it's just kind of perfect. All right, I intended to end this video like 4 times. So we're gonna end it now. I'll see you in the next one.